Hi there and welcome to Heard Online, in which today we're doing something we have never done before. We are stopping the presses to jump into perhaps the most inspiring, the most powerful, the most wonderful and amazing account of how the struggle with insomnia ends that I've ever read. And it really just, this just happened like an hour ago. I came home, I was checking my emails, and there was an email from Sonia. Sonia is one of our graduates. She has been a guest in Talking Insomnia number 90. And she told me that the article that she's been writing, which is a first-hand account of her struggle with insomnia, just had been published. In fact, it was published today. And when I saw it, I was like, this is it. The Heard Online is going to be about this article. And, it just, like, when I read it, it was just so clear to me that we have to talk about it. It was just an incredible article that we're going to look at today. And not only do I hope that this will bring you hope, inspiration, and clarity, but, from the perspective of like the movement, like this year has been quite amazing. It started off in January with Scott, aka Long Fox, a YouTuber with more than 1.5 million subscribers, finding Set It and Forget It because he struggled with insomnia himself. That was a huge boost. Then there was Professor Barbara Oakley from the professor at Oakland University, who shared Set It and Forget It in her newsletter with nearly 3 million recipients. That was a huge boost. And just 24 days ago, remember, The Guardian published an article that was written with one of our graduates, one of our coaches. And then this, and this is Sonia's first-hand account was published in CBC, which is the largest broadcasting network in Canada, reaching millions of people. So, wow, super excited about all that's happening here in our world. And without further ado, let us jump in and look at this amazing article. So, this is again from today. Breaking news from today in CBC. You can read the following: for 1 year, I desperately chased sleep. Once I stopped trying, it found me. We can see right away that this is a different type of headline. This is not like we don't even use our triggerometer here. This is just like, this is just wonderful. And here is Sonia, our own Sonia, has written this. And I was thinking of like which parts of this I should read and we should share, but I think we're just going to read the whole thing because it's amazing. So anyway, we read the headline, and then she says here, anxiety was the oxygen fueling my insomnia. I had to stop fanning the flames. And already 50 comments. Wow. Well, let's take a look at some of those as well. Now, here it says that this first person article is written by Sonia Warwick, a little bit about her. And here we go. Here it starts. Please just come to bed. I can't bring myself to go inside my bedroom. I'm crying and my husband is doing his best to calm me. I'm realizing as I am reading here that we can enlarge this so it's easier to see. Probably something like this is more helpful. All right. Please just come to bed. I can't bring myself to go inside my bedroom. I'm crying and my husband is doing his best to calm me. I don't know what to do. I can't stay out in the hallway all night, but the idea of getting in bed is equally torturous. It's a reminder of my failure to do what most other living things accomplish with seemingly no effort. 2021 should have been the best year of my life. How many millennials fantasize about quitting their toxic corporate job and returning to school to follow their calling? That June, I received that second chance, an acceptance letter to the University of Alberta's dietetics program. I had been dreaming about this letter since the moment I turned in my resignation the previous year. But my reality had become a nightmare because for the last 2 months, I had barely slept more than an hour a night. It started the first week of May with a few nights of 3 a.m. wake-ups. At first, I assumed I was nervous about program admission interviews. The selection process came and went, but my sleep problems persisted, and I grew more concerned. A story we hear so often here. There's something that may be a little bit stressful to us. It may not even be obviously stressful. It creates a scenario where we sleep less, which is so normal. It happens to all of us, right? But at some point, that safety radar we have in our minds can be confused and think like, oh, not sleeping is the threat here, and we got to do something about that. Common story that we hear as so well described here in Sonia's words. Let's continue reading. So I turned to supplements. Then came the appointments. the blood work checking for tumors and hormones, the electrocardiogram, the sleep study. Aggravatingly, the results showed I was perfectly healthy, yet the more I chased after sleep, the less I slept. So common as well. I remember Chris, another guest there, saying that when a pituitary tumor was not found, he was actually disappointed. That's how intense the struggle was for him. And we see the same thing here. Let's keep reading. Next headline here is chasing sleep. When I would talk about my insomnia, a standard response was, have you tried? Yes, I have. Melatonin, valerian, passion flower, eating before bed, not eating before bed, low carb diet, acupuncture, meditation, breath work, sleep stories, white noise, psychotherapy, naturopathy, GABA, tryptophan, CBD oil, rhodiola, zopiclone, Zoloft, trazodone, olanzapine, psychiatry, chiropractic treatments, hypnotherapy. I have tried it all. And here we see a picture of some of the things that Sonia tried. Another response is, I get that too. I say this with respect. You do not. For one full year, I slept an average of 2 or 3 hours a night. Some nights, I fell asleep standing upright, only to be shaken awake by heart palpitations. Every sunrise was a countdown to the torture that awaited me that night. I lost interest in anything that formerly gave me joy. Exercise became a Herculean task. My diet consisted of plain oatmeal and boiled potatoes, a real warning sign for anyone who knows my culinary prowess. Sonia doesn't elaborate on this, but it sounds like this may be avoidance. This may be like avoiding anything that's even the remotely like spicy or stimulating. And in this, we're seeing here how, when we start avoiding things to attain sleep, really tricky path. Next section here is hitting rock bottom. At 3 months, insomnia is classified as chronic, quote unquote, if a person has trouble sleeping for 3 or more nights a week. I was petrified. And here we see that this idea, like 3 months, 3 or more nights a week for 3 months, this is just completely random. Somebody just decided that this is chronic, this is not. But that having a threshold is always so tricky, because then it's like, oh, I've gone beyond this threshold. Something must be really bad, which it's not at all. It doesn't mean anything. But we can see here that Sonia was petrified. I started having severe panic attacks, and most of my waking moments, there were many, were filled with uncontrollable sobbing. I dwelled on the idea of suicide and fantasized about escaping the torment. My concerned husband hid my sleeping pills, which were ineffective by this point anyway, and checked in on me as best as he could while working from home. Somebody wrote to me some months ago and said, Daniel, you have to speak about these ideas of suicide. And it's such a difficult topic, but I'm glad that CBC allowed this, and they were not afraid to share Sonia's story fully here. And I think that is so helpful for so many people who are going through this. Let's keep reading. Soon after receiving my admission letter, I broke, battling anxiety, nauseating dizziness, and a physical weakness that made walking difficult. I made the hard decision to return to my parents' home in Calgary so they could care for me. I remember haphazardly tossing my things into a duffel bag and thinking I'd hit rock bottom. I was 32 and deeply ashamed. But there is a happy ending, and it starts with a camping trip. A friend convinced me to join her for a weekend in Banff National Park in August 2021. I was perpetually miserable anyway, so I figured I might as well be miserable in intent. I knew I wasn't going to sleep, so I shifted my energy toward enjoying the sunshine, mountain air, and deep belly laughs. I was almost surprised by the inexplicable lightness I felt. It was as if I didn't realize how heavy my burden truly was. Both nights, I slept deeply. And I remember this from talking to Sonia, and she's a protagonist in Tales of Courage as well. So I remember when I was creating the book, reading about this camping trip. But what was so nice here was to get to see this picture. Next headline is I created a monster. But before we read it again, here's the picture of Sonia, her friend who made her take this camping trip, and probably had no idea what profound effect it was going to have on Sonia's life. Amazing. Let's keep reading. In the back of my mind, I knew I had stumbled across something significant. Capital I insomnia, long-term chronic insomnia, is not a sleep problem. Most people don't need to think about sleeping. Attention, however, is the oxygen to the insomnia flames. That weekend in Banff, I finally stopped fanning the fire. The turning point for me was finding the work of yours truly, Daniel Erickson, a sleep coach who trained as a doctor with an interesting perspective on chronic insomnia. He says it's a phobia, a fear of wakefulness that is reinforced by the very attempt to escape it. I had spent months following sleep hygiene rules, taking supplements, and forming strict bedtime routines, all to no avail. I had created this monster. So instead of techniques like box breathing, body scans, and counting, I decided to do nothing. I handled my lizard brain like a toddler throwing a tantrum and ignored it. And with this in mind, I started to treat my insomnia with exposure therapy. Every wakeful night became an opportunity to have fun. I would lie in bed and relive vacations, read books, even watch TV. That's right. I exposed myself to blue light that the internet would have you believe makes your eyeballs burst into flames. Instead, I started falling asleep to Seinfeld. Gradually, my fear subsided and I started sleeping more. For those of you who never heard of exposure therapy, it's actually a mainstay in terms of like how to meet phobias. If you're scared of spiders, you expose yourself to them, like you expose yourself to what you're scared of, and really befriending wakefulness. And what we teach here could be thought of as a way, exposure therapy in a way. And Sonia found this. Let's keep reading. Time, courage, and more time. I wish I could tell you the progress was linear and that it culminating in closing credits with a heartwarming instrumental. The truth is, learning a fear is instantaneous. Unlearning one takes time, courage, and more time. Nothing to add. Amazingly said. Overcoming my insomnia has taken me through the lowest of lows. I have found myself broken beyond recognition, each time certain that I would never come back from this trauma. Back then, I could never fathom living a normal life again, and yet, here I am today. I moved back in with my husband in time for school in September and began the artist path to normalcy. And here we see, I didn't know this. This is actually a tattoo representing the chemical structure of melatonin, which Sonia has on her forearm, a permanent reminder of her battle with insomnia. During my recovery, every waking night required me to find joy and light amid an ocean of fear. I had to ignore the adrenaline pumping through my blood and remain calm. It is in our nature to minimize suffering. We crave relief, and many of us find it challenging to sit with discomfort. Rumi, the 13th century Persian poet, said, "When the world pushes you to your knees, you're in the perfect position to pray." During my nights on my knees, I would say a little prayer to myself because deep down, I knew I could save myself from myself. I don't know. I have nothing to add. This is just, again, Sonia is such an incredible storyteller. She's lived through this. And, that tattoo, if nothing else, tells us, how what impact this has had on her life, and how she's like, I can tell that she wants to reach other people and help other people, and it's amazing. So, yeah. Hope you found so much value here, and hope this brings you, inspiration and hope. And I'll link to the article in the description. And that concludes this first ever breaking news version of Heard Online. But again, yeah, hope you really enjoyed it and you liked it, and look forward to having you back here real soon. Bye for now.